And it took 2 years, and it was early in 1938 that we got an interview with the consul. And he decided that Mr. Bifus in Chicago, who was a very wealthy man, had given too many pledges for other people. I have no idea whether that was true or not. And he wasn't going to give us a visa until we got an additional pledge from another relative. There was no other relative, period. So we were stuck in Germany. And my parents tried everything to leave Germany. It's easy for me to say now, they should have left everything. They should have taken a rucksack, and they should have gone somehow try to get into Spain. Some people did that. But it's unfair to say that now. It's always easier to look back. But they found out about a young man who was an agent for Uruguay. And he was going to get us into Uruguay. My parents were intelligent people. They weren't the only ones who fell for this. Some of our other relatives did. I will never forget that young man. He was gorgeous. He was tall, he was well dressed. His mannerism, he induced confidence. He was going to get us to Uruguay. But after he got the down payment, he disappeared. And then my parents tried to get into Holland, and that would not have done them any good. Unfortunately, I was under the impression for years and years that some of our best friends who had gone to Holland had survived. But Christians in this little place near Dortmund in Applerbeck, where we lived, sent me a book of all the Jewish inhabitants of that place. And unfortunately, some of the people who I thought had survived were caught in Holland and caught in Belgium and did not survive. It was very difficult to run around in Germany in those days as a marked people. But we became a marked people. I had to wear the Jewish star with the word Jude in the middle of it on all my outer clothing. And when I was walking in the street, and the Hitler Youth, who looked a little like the Boy Scouts, but were very different from the Boy Scouts, saw me, they would beat me up. They would call me names that I could not even mention in schools, and I couldn't mention it here. I had a bicycle that was very important to me because my father was forced to work in construction for the Nazis. He didn't get paid for it. My mother worked in a factory as a forelady in a factory for wonderful people. It was a Catholic family, the Schreieks. They had a leather factory. And she worked for them, and she was really shielded by them. But when the transportation started in Düsseldorf, first my friends were deported in 1941, supposedly to labor camps. And the transports from Düsseldorf did not leave from the main railroad stations. They left from a place called the slaughterhouse, which was near the main railroad station, but it had different rails that went into the slaughterhouse where the cattle cars came in and the animals were taken out and were taken to slaughter. This is where all the transports left Düsseldorf. when I got my notification that I had to present myself for deportation, it was on the same day that Anne Frank's sister, Margot Frank, got her notification in Amsterdam. We were both 16 years old. My parents didn't know what to do. Were they going to let me go alone? Were they going to volunteer to go with me? They wanted to keep the family together. Of course, nobody had any ideas what these so-called labor camps looked like, or what was going on there. Plus, they still had this imagined optimism. This criminal isn't going to stay in power, the German people won't put up with it, and everything will be wonderful again. So, everybody in my family volunteered to go with me, which was the wrong thing to do. Was it? I don't know. Maybe I would have left alone, and my father and my brother would have been in another transport a few weeks later, because transports were leaving all the time. And they were leaving for labor camps. I don't think a normal person can imagine what these camps were like. So, my mother volunteered to go with us, but Herr Pütz, the head of the Gestapo, of the secret police, did not allow my mother to go with us. She was a very good-looking woman, and he made it very clear to her that he wanted her to sleep with him. And she told him to go to hell. I don't think it would have mattered what she told him, but he would not allow her to go with us. And I'm very grateful to him. We left for this labor camp, and we ended up in a place called Theresienstadt or Terezin, which is in the Czech Republic, was then Czechoslovakia. Now, Terezin is a very special place. It was established by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It's a place full of stone barracks, huge barracks, because they were used for the soldiers. So the secret police and the SS in Prague felt this was an ideal place to turn into a concentration camp. The first people who came to this camp were all Czechs. And the Czechs hated the Germans. The Czechs hated the German language because they knew what was in store for them and what the Germans had already done. And there's a part of Czechoslovakia that's called Bohemia, which had a very high percentage of German population. They were all Nazis. They always felt that they weren't quite recognized by the Czechs. They hated the Czechs. So when Hitler was getting closer to Czechoslovakia, they were really very happy. It was going to be a German country, and they were going to be the big honchos. And we had the problem, and I had the terrible problem. I get to this place called Theresienstadt, and we were all separated, and I tried to find my father and my brother. These were all inmates from Czechoslovakia, who all spoke German. Most of these Czechs are very well educated, but they would not speak German, and they would not even let you know that they understood German. So it took me quite a while to find my father and my brother.